Hello Blazers, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian. How guys doing today? Welcome to a brand new video. Yes guys, I am back from vacation. I was just in Thailand for 11 days and I recorded a lot of great footage and everything, so be on the lookout for that. However guys, in today's video we're not going to be talking about anything fun or exciting. Because what happened recently is that Russia just signed a new law which literally takes the process of a person being drafted into the Russian military and the process of a potential future wave of mobilization in Russia to an absolutely insane level. Because now, according to the law, a person that is eligible to be drafted into the Russian army doesn't have to physically receive a subpoena, sort of a military draft letter, and sign it in order to be obliged to come to the military draft office and actually enlist in the army. Now, with the new law, the Russian government can just send you the military draft letter as an email through a sort of e-government system called Gosuslugi, which is literally just an app you usually use to reserve a consultation with a doctor in a governmental clinic or pay off a fine for your speeding tickets or whatever. Now, you will be receiving military draft letters through it, and the best part is, you don't even have to open this letter or anything, because the fact of you being sent an email in itself is considered as a successful reception of the military draft letter by yourself. And yes guys, it does get worse. Now, after the military draft letter has been received, the individual in question is now forbidden from leaving the territory of Russia and crossing the Russian border. And guys, yes, it gets even worse. If after receiving this military draft letter you have not arrived to the military draft office in time, you're given exactly 20 days. And after those 20 days, that person is actually stripped of quite a few of their rights as the citizen of the Russian Federation. Which includes the ability to register a business, the ability to control your real estate, so that could be selling or buying real estate or gifting it, drive a car, and receive loans from banks. So essentially, if the government sends you a draft letter, which you might not even know exists in the first place, well, in 20 days you're basically ripped off of your basic rights and most importantly, of course, of the ability to cross the Russian border. Now guys, I mean, this is a lot, and well, I didn't even say anything yet, because all I did right now is just read off the points in the law. I didn't even provide any commentary already, and this video is like already, this is already insane. And safe to say guys, people in Russia are freaking out right now. I would say everybody's pretty much freaking out the same way right now as people were when the mobilization started in Russia in September of 2022. However guys, let's try to calm down right now and actually discuss this law, discuss what it means, and try to not go insane, I don't know. By the way guys, I would like to say, if you'd like to be updated on news like these, and overall if you want to be informed on the latest news in a better way, then I suggest you use Ground News, which is actually the website that we're on right now. Here we have this article about Russia basically approving the new law on electronic military summonses. And actually here, if we take a look at the amount of the news sources, we can notice a particular issue that I've already mentioned before, where news like these regarding Russia actually sort of underreported in the West. And I've already talked about Ground News on this channel before. It is essentially a news aggregator on ultra settings. It is the ultimate news comparison platform. And to show you guys how it works, we're hearing a more popular story that has 73 news sources about the jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny appearing to be poisoned again. And thanks to Ground News, I can actually go and check out every single individual source that is related to this topic. I can go and click on every individual article to read it on the original websites. And Ground News shows you the political leanings, the factuality, and the ownership of every single source. So for example, here we can check out TASS, which is a Russian governmental media. It says that it leans right, which is pretty true, has a mixed factuality to say the least, and that it is owned by the government of Russia. And Ground News has even more great features, for example the interactive map, which actually allows you to see the breaking news from a particular location, or the blind spot feature, which actually shows you articles that have an overrepresentation in coverage from the media that comes either from the left or from the right. And I personally enjoy using Ground News a lot because I believe it is a great tool that allows you to not only keep your own biases in check, but also to make sure that the news that you're consuming are factual and truthful. So if you guys want to also make your news reading experience better, then go over to the link down in the description to ground.news/NFKRZ, try Ground News for free, and maybe if you like it, subscribe and support the Ground News team. Huge thanks to Ground News once again for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. Okay, so before we really dive into it, I guess I want to say that this law, as currently understood, is mostly only applied to conscripts, not actually contract soldiers or mobilized. And so that you guys understand what this changes exactly, I would like to explain to you how conscription in Russia works overall. I've already talked about this in several videos and I've actually gone through this myself, but basically the way conscription in Russia works before is that in order to be obligated to visit the military draft office office and actually go in there and essentially either enlist in the army or try to avoid getting enlisted, you have to receive a military draft letter either through mail or in person, because the military draft workers do walk around and knock on people's doors and basically give them the draft letters to draft people into the army. And once again, I'm talking about conscription here. Russia has mandatory military service for men, so this happens twice a year during spring and during winter. And essentially the way it worked before is that there was really no huge penalty for not going to the military draft office. And a lot of people have escaped not going to the army by just not going to the military draft office. And a lot of people have done this. I personally know people who have passed the military conscription age because they basically just ignored vojenkomat for their entire life. And there were really no repercussions for this. And a sort of similar thing was actually happening with the mobilization recently. Essentially, people were just advised to not go to the military draft office for any reason, and also to not accept military draft letters and to not sign them. And that was basically one way to make sure that you're not getting mobilized, although a lot of people were just being grabbed on the streets and given these military draft letters. So for a lot of people, escaping it was not even an option. However, essentially there were no sanctions for ignoring the military draft office, and now there are. So essentially, mobilization in Russia was already a very, very serious matter. It was the precise reason why thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Russians fled Russia and went to nearby countries such as Kazakhstan and Georgia, causing huge lines at the border and everything because people were scared of dying. And get this, people were running away from the potential of being mobilized, right? However, now, we can basically say that at this point, Russia hasn't so much implemented electronic subpoenas, electronic draft letters, as Russia has pretty much abolished draft letters in general. Because now literally every single male in Russia can be drafted at any moment without even realizing it, and now leaving the country will not be an option because, well, the people who have received their draft letters electronically through a message on the Gosuslugi app, these people cannot even leave the country anymore. So technically you could say that Russia has just closed borders. Kind of. And guys, a little bit of a detour, I want to show you this. This is actually a great example of how in touch Russia is with its citizens on this matter. The chairman of the Defense Committee of the Russian State Duma had this message to say to Russian citizens that currently live abroad. The people eligible for draft should, and I quote, take a year-long vacation from their work, serve in the Russian army, do their duty to their motherlands, and go back abroad and continue working there. So, but there's more to this as well, let me quote him again. Or, if you're on a vacation in Russia, and I hope that all the normal people are actually spending their vacations in Russia, even if they have been living and working abroad for a long time, the course of action is to come to the military drafts office, submit the needed documents, and then go back to work in the foreign country that you live in. You know, I just don't think I will, personally, you know, that's just... That's just really all I have to say here, to be honest. I do not think I will. So yes, this new law as is right now is actually apparently going to be only applied to conscripts. However, obviously guys, you know, Russia is a country that where, you know, anything is possible. And crazy things happen all the time, right? So I totally get the panic, guys. And honestly, from living in Russia, you know, for over 20 years, you know, for most of my life, I could say that, yes, I don't exactly have a lot of trust in the words of the Russian government. I really don't doubt that, you know, the application of this law right here is going to be, let's just say, very, it's going to be very convenient for the governments once the time comes to send even more Russians into the meat grinder. And the people are not even going to be able to flee, because now if you've been drafted, if you've received your subpoena, if you've been added to the list, you cannot leave the country anymore. And obviously, with the way things are going right now, with this sort of a stalemate situation on the front, and all the discussions about the upcoming counteroffensive from Ukraine, it is very highly likely that soon enough, Russia will need more people. And the way this law looks to me is that, well, they're basically preparing to lock people in and stop people from escaping like they did last time. Because the amount of people that left after the mobilization started in September of 2022 was absolutely ridiculous. And right now, guys, this law, it's already effective. However, this electronic database of all the conscripts, etc. is not yet existing. So essentially, the men in Russia currently have a certain amount of time before this law fully actually starts working, and after that everybody might be sort of screwed. And what can I say, guys? I'm expecting, you know, 20 more million people on the on the border with Russia and Georgia very soon. I mean, what else is going to happen here? If you're a man in Russia right now and you do not want to be a slave and you actually want to have some agency over your life, I would say leaving is the most logical thing right now, to be honest. And I was never calling people to leave on this channel before, because I've always thought, you know, it's a decision that the person has to make themselves. You know, a lot of people people want to sort of fight on the inside as well and sort of make a little change here and there. Well, this right here seems like a sort of a breaking point, after which, you know, it might be time. Because I know damn well if I was in Russia right now and I saw these news, I would be packing my bags. And the reason why I said if you do not want to be a slave is now Russia is literally taking citizens' basic rights away. I mean, when the government is taking away people's rights to open businesses, use their real estate, drive a vehicle, or take loans, I mean, what are we talking about here? This is like essentially the comeback of serfdom in Russia at this point, right? Because, you know, who knows, in the future it might be that citizens might get drafted or called up not only for military needs, but for any other sort of type of work. And if you don't comply and if you essentially don't give your freedom and, you know, your agency to live your life the way you want and actually, you know, to do whatever you want to the government, your basic rights are being taken away. If this is not serfdom at this point, I don't know what is, because the Russian government right now wants to treat the people of Russia not as citizens, not as individuals, but as dispensable workforce, as serfs. So once again, guys, the only point that I'm making here is, once again, if I was if I was in Russia right now, I would be packing my bags for a nice little vacation in any country of your choice. Just make sure they don't require a visa. And now, for last, you guys are probably gonna be wondering whether this will affect me and whether I can be drafted into the military now by, you know, getting an email. Well, here's the thing, guys. I've actually officially avoided serving in the Russian army when I still lived in Russia. And I did this through my medical condition, essentially. I have asthma. I've had it since I was a little child. And asthma is one of the conditions that basically bars you from being drafted into the army, and it was a whole process. It was very, very fucking difficult. It took like a whole year of my life. I have a video about it on this channel. I actually have a document which says that my rank is private and that I'm not fit to serve in the army, essentially. So legally speaking, technically to the Russian government, I'm basically a person who's already served in the army, so I will not be conscripted in any of the regular drafts that Russia conducts 2 times per year, because I've not been eligible for those drafts ever since I got my военный билет. But this is only in regards to the conscription, of course. If you're talking about, you know, a future possibility of another mobilization in Russia, for example, who knows? Who knows, guys? Because the rule of law and, you know, the constitution, etc. are all, you know, concepts that are, you know, not familiar to Russia right now, so literally anything could happen. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that. And yeah, guys, I guess that is going to be pretty much it for today's video, though. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, please make sure to slap the like on it. And as always, guys, if you want to support me additionally, then go over to a link down in the description where you can become a YouTube member. It's basically a way to donate to me monthly, and it really helps me out a lot. You can also do a super thanks underneath this video. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching it once again. Stay safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.